2011 census, women account for 48% of the total population of the country. It is also common political knowledge by now that women have emerged as a separate vote bank, which almost all parties have voted. This is directly related to the increased participation of women in the voting process. Votes are not the only concern here, though. Gender responsive budget policies can contribute to achieving objectives of gender equality, human development, and economic efficiency, thus contributing to the overall development of a country. No wonder gender budgeting has emerged as a pivotal part of the union budget each year. Hello, I'm Shriparna, and today I'll take you of what women can expect from the union budget. So, what is gender budgeting and why is it important? Gender budgeting is concerned with gender sensitive formulation of legislation, programs, and schemes, allocation of resources, implementation and execution, audit and impact assessment of programs and schemes, and follow up corrective action to address gender disparities. The need for it stems from the fact that women face disparities in access to and control over services and resources. The bulk of the public expenditure, as we know, and policy concerns are in gender neutral sectors, and the implications on women in the above sectors are not recognized or identified. Gender budgeting statement was first introduced in the Indian budget in 2005-6. It comprises two parts. So part A reflects women's specific schemes, that is those which have 100% allocation for women. Part B reflects pro-women schemes, that is those where at least 30% of allocation is for women. We can have sectors of education, health. Now let us have a look at what the Modi government has done for women in union budget for the last 10 years since it has been in power. So we have cash assistance, subsidized LPG cylinders, cervical cancer vaccines for teenage girls, encouraging registration of houses under PM Awas Yojana in rural areas. These are some of the few benefits. There have also been focus on transforming, women's lives through the Lakpati Didi schemes. This is for the rural area especially. The potential additional measures for ongoing initiatives, for example, direct benefit transfer for cooking gas subsidies, expected increased funding for public hospitals, and provision for free and subsidized health checkups for women. These are some of the others. In the interim budget earlier this year, extension of health cover under the Ayushman Bharat scheme to all ASHA and Anganwadi workers and helpers, bringing all maternal and child healthcare schemes under one comprehensive program for synergy in implementation and empowerment of women through entrepreneurship, like ease of giving 30 crore Mudra Yojana loans to women entrepreneurs. These were also announced.
The total allocation for the Women and Child Development Ministry in the interim budget earlier this year at Rs 26,000 crore was, however, only a marginal increase of 2.52% from the previous year's budget.
In the previous year, in 2023, the Finance Minister also had announced a one-time small savings scheme for women to commemorate 75 years of India's independence. A small savings certificate had fixed interest of 7.5% for 2 years. The deposit could be made in the name of a woman or a girl child. The maximum deposit amount had been kept at Rs 2 lakh. Now, these are some of the schemes which were aimed at financial empowerment of women. Another important scheme was the Women's Self-Help Group. They had also been encouraged. The government had said that SHGs had helped mobilize rural women into 81 lakh self-help groups. The budget envisaged that through supporting policies, the SHGs will be enabled to scale up their operations to serve the larger consumer markets, as has been the case with several startups growing into unicorns. So, what are the expectations women have or should have for this year's budget, which is the first full budget of Modi 3.0? Women entrepreneurs believe that the government should introduce women-friendly taxation policies to empower women in business. They also expect a tax rebate of at least around 5,000 rupees for women working in informal sectors. Increase support in healthcare and childcare. Promote health and fitness in women. Some activists feel an annual allowance should be introduced and exempted from tax. Encouraging better health practices among women tax savers. Raising the limit for deductions on health insurance premium. under Section 80D by an additional rupees 25,000 specifically for women is also some of the demands. Incorporating a new childcare deduction of up to rupees 50,000 per annum, and given the gender pay gap, an additional standard deduction of rupees 25,000 for working women to help them address financial inequalities at work. So these are the hard financial demands which women entrepreneurs and activists have. According to women's right activist Ranjana Kumari, though, the focus has to be kept on education and health. And within education, there needs to be a larger allocation for skill development to align them with the job market. The government also needs to allocate funds to ensure that universities develop specific courses for leadership training for politics and women. Another issue which activists flag is the need for mental health of women to be included in the healthcare scheme. For Geeta Menon, another women's rights activist, investments in women's safety should also be a priority. Whether it is the Nirbhaya Fund for Women or shelter homes, the government needs to be more proactive in supporting women who have been affected by violence. Last but not the least, the bulk of investment should be made on providing facilities like mother and child care for women working in the informal sector, as these are the women who face the brunt of catastrophic events like climate change. Thanks for watching. This is part of a series The Hindu is doing on the 2024 budget. For more such videos, subscribe to The Hindu. Thank you.